You know, the toddler years, they get a pretty bad rap, right? Survival mode is a phrase I hear all the time. But what if I told you that understanding just a few key secrets about your child's developing brain could turn these challenging years into some of the most rewarding ones? Let's dive in and see how.
Okay, this one idea right here, it's a total game changer. That moment when your toddler has a full-blown meltdown because their sandwich is cut into squares instead of triangles, they are not trying to ruin your day. This is literally their brain's way of screaming, "I am so overwhelmed and I have no idea how to handle this feeling right now." If you can just hold on to that thought, it's the first huge step toward a much calmer, more connected way of parenting.
So to really get what's going on here, we've got to look inside the toddler brain. The root of almost every single tantrum isn't bad behavior, it's just biology. It's all about understanding the unique wiring they're working with at this age.
Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. Think of your toddler's brain like this. It has a fully functional, super-sensitive emotional fire alarm, that's the amygdala, and it's been working perfectly since day one. But the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of the brain that's supposed to be the off switch, well, that part won't be fully developed until they're 25 years old. So you've got a hypersensitive smoke detector with a faulty off switch. It is biologically impossible for them to control these big feelings on their own yet.
And that right there is exactly why trying to reason with a toddler in the middle of a meltdown is a battle you will never win. When that emotional fire alarm goes off, their thinking brain completely shuts down. They go into what's called survival mode. So trying to explain or bargain with them at this point is like trying to teach physics during a fire drill. They literally cannot hear you.
So if their thinking brain is totally offline, what are we supposed to do? How do we help them? Well, this brings us to a really simple three-part framework. It's all about shifting from reacting to their behavior to responding to what they actually need in that moment.
This is the mindset shift that makes everything else work. When we can see a tantrum not as defiance, but as a giant blinking sign that our child is struggling and missing a skill, our whole approach changes. We stop asking, how do I make this stop? And we start asking, okay, what skill do they need my help learning right now?
So here's how that process looks in real time. First, you stay calm. You have to be their anchor in that emotional storm. You're literally lending them your calm nervous system. Second, you connect. Get down on their level, look them in the eye, and just validate their feeling. Something simple like, "You are so upset right now. I see that." And third, and this is key, you coach. But you do it after the storm is passed. Once their thinking brain is back online, that's your window to actually teach them the skill they were missing.
And you have to remember, you're going to coach them on that same skill again and again and again. A toddler's brain is like a very slow sponge. It needs to soak up the same lesson many, many times before it finally sticks. So, when you find yourself repeating, "We use gentle hands," for the 100th time, please don't get frustrated. That repetition isn't a sign that you're failing, it's proof that you're teaching.
Okay, so we've covered how to respond during a tantrum, but what if we could actually prevent some of them from ever starting? This next part is all about using specific words that work with a toddler's brain, not against it.
This is so simple, but it is so incredibly powerful. Tell your toddler what you want them to do, not what you want them to stop doing. See, their brain really struggles with negative commands. When you say, "Don't run," the only thing their brain hears is "run." But if you say, "Use your walking feet," you're giving them a clear, positive picture of exactly what you want them to do. It's a tiny shift in language that makes a world of difference.
And here's another game-changing little secret. The 10-second pause. When you give your toddler an instruction, say it once, clearly, and then silently count to 10. I know, it feels like an eternity, but it can take a toddler's brain that long to hear the words, process the request, and then actually get their body to respond. We almost always repeat ourselves way too fast. Just try giving them that space. You'll be amazed at how often they actually do it without you saying another word.
And when they do follow through, how we praise them matters a whole lot. Instead of praising a fixed trait, like saying, "You're so smart," praise their effort and the specific action they took. Saying something like, "Wow, you kept trying so hard to figure that out," teaches them that success comes from persistence, something they can actually control. This builds what's called a growth mindset, and it encourages them to embrace challenges instead of being afraid of them.
Now, all of these communication techniques are really powerful, but they become even more effective when they're happening inside a predictable and secure world. This is about creating an environment for your toddler where they feel safe because they know what to expect, and that dramatically reduces their stress, and let's be honest, yours too.
This simple formula is basically your foundation. First up, food.
A hungry toddler is an irrational toddler, period. Their little bodies need fuel every 2 to 3 hours, so always keep an eye on the clock. Next, consistent rules. When mom, dad, and grandma all have the same loving boundary about hitting, the testing just kind of stops because their world feels predictable. And finally, routines. And I don't mean a rigid, down-to-the-minute schedule. I mean a predictable order of events. We wake up, then we have breakfast, then we get dressed. That sequence makes their world feel safe and manageable.
And inside that secure world, a few more keys to success start to pop up. Remember, they are always watching you. How you handle your own stress is their masterclass in emotional regulation. Also, try to resist that urge to immediately solve every little problem for them. Letting them struggle for a minute with a puzzle is how they build real confidence. And you can satisfy that growing need for independence by offering 2 simple choices. Do you want the apple or the banana? It gives them a sense of control without totally overwhelming their brain.
So what if we just reframed this entire stage of life? By understanding their brain, using the right tools, and creating a consistent, loving world, we can start to see that these aren't the terrible years we just have to survive. They're the teachable years, an incredible opportunity to lay the foundation for emotional intelligence and resilience that's going to last them their entire life.